going to show you, if you're not already using AccuZIP, how to use it and how easy it is. And if you're using a mailhouse, stop. Don't do that anymore. Because this part is actually this is the easy part. What you guys are doing with the printing and all that and making sure it gets on correctly, that's a little harder than what this is. This will take you literally less than 5 minutes to prepare a mailing and get it to ready to print. So I'm just going to show you. So if everybody can see my screen, which I'm sure you can, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So when you open the software, it's going to give you this Open Create window. Now, what this means is you can open any list that you've been working on by just clicking on one of these links, or you can open a new list. And I'm just going to open a new list and show you how that works. So basically, you open this, you just navigate to wherever your lists are located, wherever your customer list is. You can, I would recommend having a customer folder, and within that, maybe having all your customers either by their email or account number or whatever. Then you can select their list. Now, I have selected a CSV or a comma separated text format. AccuZIP automatically recognizes over 270 file formats. So if your customer sends you an Excel file or an XLSX file or a DBF or a label format or whatever, we'll be able to automatically recognize it and then be able to import it using, most of the time, the header. Now, the header is, if you look on the far right of the little window here, this far right is the actual list that I'm bringing in. If I can scroll through the records, I can see that. This first record is the header, which is the column name that tells AccuZIP what's in that column. Now, most people are not going to always put address or city or state. They're not going to use those words. They may use ADDR1 or F name for first. Now, we can map those using these point and click, or AccuZIP is intelligent enough to know that ADDR1 is an address field, and you can always add to that that list. So when you bring in here, you can say, okay, my customer always names their address field, customer address or whatever. That's what they name their field. So if I add that, and then next time I bring their list in and I say use header, it's going to automatically map it. So all I need to do now is bring in the list. And as you see, it just imported very quickly into AccuZIP. There's 1,500 records. It imported in less than a second. It was in. Now, this is a pretty nice, clean list. You don't always get the list to look like that. Sometimes when your customer gives you a list, it may look like this, where everything's in one field. Now, with this case, we've got first name, middle name, last name, address, address to, city, state, and zip, all in the same field. Now, that's a mess. Most software, and in fact, I don't know any software that can actually do anything with this, out of the box. With our software, you can. With our software, we'll be able to correct this, so you don't have to send it back to your customer, in which they probably don't know what to do with it either. That's why they gave it to you this way, because you're the professional. We have what's called our command feature. In this command feature, this comes empty when you get the software, but we have hundreds and hundreds of commands, possibly thousands of commands on our website already. That'll do virtually anything you need. If you don't want to spend the time to look for these commands, or you don't even know what you're looking for, just email support, call support, or whatever, and we'll send you the command. So in this case, we would just copy and paste this text, and what happens is, watch, all of this information is in one field, but when I hit run, it's now all in its own field. So that right there would have taken hours to separate out. I know a lot of you guys go, I'm an expert in Excel, I can do all that, I can put it all in separate fields, but it wouldn't be as fast as just clicking that button. There's no way. I challenge anyone to a race on cleaning up a file in Excel compared to cleaning it up in AccuZIP, and I know we would win because it's very quick. Another thing is, if you wanted to separate the name information, it's just as easy as what I did before. So right here, I have first, middle, last. I also have last, comma, first, middle. I have Mr., and then I have Mr. and Mrs. And even if I had two names, let me go ahead and erase that name, and I'll add another name. Now I've got two names. So I have Mr. and Mrs., Dave and Lizette Belmonte. So now, if I needed to format, to parse this out, all I have to do is pull down special, parse, name. That's it. Boom. And you could charge for these features that you're doing right here. It took me literally 2 seconds to do that, and I could have charged to have this information separated out. A lot of software out there, competitors can't do it in the way that we do it that way. Another thing I want to show you real quick, and this is a lot of work on a list that I'm showing you. I'm not showing you how to do it as so much as what we can do. And I'll show you kind of a cool thing. So say, for instance, I had a name like McPhee, or if I had one like O'Neill. Whoops. I can type here. Or McDonald or whatever, and I have a name like this, and I need to format this field. Well, I just pull down special to format. Now I can do all the fields at once, or I could just do the field I want. All software can do uppercase, or mixed case. But what we also have is what's called perfect case, and that's what you really want. You want this name to look like that. So when you're printing it on the mail piece, it actually is formatted correctly. Okay, so that's done very, very easily by just a couple clicks. So normally what will happen is you'll import the list and you'll just get to work on it. You don't have to do a lot of this, but if you do have to, it's very, very simple. And if you don't know how or you don't remember, give our support a call, and we'll show you. We can actually log onto your machine remotely, which we do a lot, and help you with it. So now I've got the list in here. The first thing I want to do is I want to CAS certify it, because what CAS certification will do is if you're missing, maybe you're missing part of the zip code, or you've got a misspelled street name, or drive and street and court or what else are spelled out. Now you need to standardize it so the address information is the same all the way down. So what I do is I hit CAS, or I hit the validation button right here. Okay, I can also pull down special, validate records or whatever. In this screen, there's a lot of options. Don't let it scare you off, because a lot of these are just personalized settings. So for instance, if you wanted to expand components, maybe you're sending out a birthday invitation or grand opening, you want it to be more personalized. So you want the state information spelled out, you want maybe drive to be spelled out or whatever. You can expand the components or not. You can, if you wanted to parse or separate some of the information in the data, maybe you needed to sort by street name. Well, the only way you're really going to be able to do that is if you parse the address information. So we add the additional fields, street name, street number, pre-direction, post-direction, all of that. We do that automatically by just checking the box. If you don't need that done, don't check the box. One thing you will want to do is you want to select NCOA every time. The reason is because we update our servers with over 60 million changes of address every week, normally on Tuesday at about 3 o'clock. If anyone's doing a list over and over again, it's normally done by 3:10 on Tuesday, unless there's a holiday. But I'm going to run it through NCOA, which is National Change of Address, right now. And when I select this, it automatically preserves, like if these weren't checked, by default, when you select this option, it checks these options to preserve the original information. So now I will have the original information, and then I will have the new move to information in my list, so that I can send that back to my customers if I want. So once I have everything selected here, I can check or uncheck any of these options. If I try to uncheck something that's required, it's not going to let you. Okay, it just says that's required. You got to keep it checked. So I'm going to hit validate, and what it does now is it's going to go through and CAS certify all of my addresses, which means it's going to standardize the address information. It's going to correct any misspelled street names. It's going to convert any rural routes that have been converted to maybe a street address for emergency purposes. It's going to do all of that. It's going to add the ZIP+4, and it's going to add the barcode. Okay, the PostNet barcode is not going to add the intelligent mail barcode yet. That happens during the pre-sort, because we have to add your MIDs, your service type ID and all that. That happens during the pre-sort, and again, that is all automated. You don't have to worry about that. So right now, it CAS certified all of the records. Now it encrypted the file, compressed it, and uploaded it for processing through NCOA, and now it's done. Okay, so here you are. Let me go ahead and pack the database, remove everything. Boom. Okay, so right now, I've got my list ran through CAS certification and NCOA. Let me go ahead and real quickly remove some of the additional fields from this view and only show you the records right here with information down in these extra columns are the records that changed with NCOA. So here they are if I just bring up those records on their own. So right now I have this person, Tim, that used to live at that address, okay? Since I ran it through NCOA, we know now that he had moved in June of last year, okay? And it was a family type move, which means everybody in that household under the name costs moved, okay? So that's done. Now the address is automatically slotted in the address field because that's what you're gonna pre-sort. That's what you're gonna print on the mail piece. That is where you wanna mail this. You don't wanna mail it here. And if I didn't run it through NCOA, first of all, you're not gonna be able to get a barcoded discount without running it through some sort of address correction like Eric mentioned earlier, putting service request, return service request, or worse, or current resident. That's the worst. Anytime I see or current resident on a mail piece, I don't even look at it. I know it's not to me, it's not relevant, so I'm just gonna toss it. This one shows it was an individual type move. That means this person, Sherry, herself, maybe she got a divorce or whatever, she is moving out of the house. This is a business type move. And I didn't show my company field, but that is a business type move. So all that information's in there. If I wanted to then print a report, I can do that for my customer. Let me go ahead and drop this down here. There's a report called NCOA report. In fact, there's a ton of them in here that you can print, all different, they do different things. I like the results report because what that does is gives me a brief page by page, like these are the box closed. This person had a PO box, they just closed it, didn't inform the post office where they're getting their mail now, so we don't know. These are moved and left forwarding address, so these people just left their house. They didn't as of yet give the post office a new move to address. And here's your forwardable move. So these are all, you can print these out to a PDF, you can send it along with the file that you're sending your customer. So for instance, if I wanted to query these 36 records and export these out to a new file, I can do that very easily by just sending it to them. I can make an Excel file or whatever and just let them know, hey, these records were updated. Maybe update your main list so next time you give me the same list, we don't have to worry about mailing to the wrong address. So those are all done. So the next logical step after doing CAS certification and NCOA, now that I've got a clean list, is possibly to remove duplicates. Okay, so the duplicate detection, all I do is I check this box up here to remove the duplicates, or I can pull down select to show duplicates. Either way, it brings you up with a screen with two different tabs. Now, if you wanted to use a user-defined tab, that's more of an advanced search, this allows you to select any of the fields in your list. You can have up to 254 fields in your list. The customer hands you a list with 100 fields because they have additional information they need for their internal use or they want to print on the mail piece. Not a problem. A lot of companies, like some of our competitors, only give you 8 additional custom fields. We give you 254 total. We use about maybe 40 of those, so you have a lot of extra fields that you can use. So I'm going to go ahead and I can select if I wanted to do it based on first, last, email or account number, whatever. I can select that in here. If I don't care and I just want to do a quick duplicate detection and remove them, I can do it based on any one of these 3 basic options. Now, all 3 of these options will look at address, city, state, and zip, all 3 of them. If you wanted to add the ability to look at first and last name, I would select person, because that's going to get your Bob Smiths and Joe, Jung or whatever, David Jung. It's gonna get those as a duplicate. They have to have the same first and the same last name. And it could be Dave and David, and I'll show you that in just a moment. We also look at AKA names, and I'll show you where that is. If you wanted to do it based on address, that's gonna look at address, city, state, and zip, but it's gonna incorporate company if you have that name or if you have that field. If you don't have that field, it'll just look at address, city, state, and zip. Household, it's gonna look at last name and address. And the reason we have that, maybe there's a Smith family and a Jones family living at the same house, and you wanna give each one of those families a piece of mail. So that's why we do that. So person is the one I'm gonna use. I'm also going to add our AKA dictionary, which is built right here. AKA, which would be names like Robert, Bob, Michelle, Shelley, Michael, Mike. These are all built in. So when you get the software out of the box, it has all of these built in. If you want to add your own, you just type it in here. This name is also that name. And you can build as many in here as you want, okay? So I'm just going to close that. I'm going to invoke that with my person search, and I'm going to hit start. So on one screen, I'm able to see all of my duplicates. And in the previous screen, which I can go back and show you, I told it I want to keep the original name that was in the list. And that's the one with the record with the lowest record number. So if I've imported like a couple lists into this list, and I want to keep the ones in the original list, therefore it would remove anything that I've imported that has the same name, and I can keep that. So I've got a Robert Harris, okay, at that address. I also have a Bob Harris at that address. I have a Michael and a Mike, Jill, and so on. These are all duplicates based on first, last, address, city, state, and zip. If I say, okay, I'd rather keep Bob and remove Robert, I just reverse them like that. And then when I close the window, it's going to say, just a moment here, I have 11 records that are flagged for deletion. Okay. So now as you see down below, they are flagged for deletion. They're grayed out. Okay. So I've got a Bob Harris that I'm going to mail to. I got right above it a grayed out record, Robert Harris. I could just leave it in the list. Okay, and nothing would happen to them. They don't get pre-sorted. They don't get included in anything. They just stay there. Okay, it's like Rudolph on Christmas. Anyway, or before Christmas. So right now, I'm going to actually pack the database. Okay, now they're gone. So now I have a really nice, clean list. Remember, this list had everything in one column when I started, and within seconds, I was able to start processing this list and moving on. Another thing I just want to kind of show you, since we have a little time here, is I want to show you how to household a file. And what that means is, say for instance, you have multiple people at the same address, in the same family. So because I removed these based on first and last name at the same address, I was not able to catch these. So now I have a Melissa Henderson, I have a John Henderson, I have a Frank Henderson, I have an Alice Henderson. If I didn't do a householding on this command or on this list, I would mail one piece of mail to every person in that household, which is a lot. That's 4 pieces, right? Just with this one list that I'm going to do extra. Maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe your customer is aware that they have family members at the same household. Well, what I could do is, instead of doing a duplicate search like that, I can run another command. It's called householding. Okay. What I do here is, when I hit run on this, what it's going to do is, anytime it sees more than one person with the same last name at the same address, it combines them into one record, and it says the Henderson family. Or I can make it say the Henderson household, or whatever you want it to say. We also can convert the command to give all of the names in the same field, where it can say John, Jane, and Melissa Henderson. We can have it do that instead of just the Henderson family. But most of the time, this just works for most people. So now I've removed those additional 3 records, and there could have been way more of that, but I've removed those additional records from this list just by running that simple command, okay? One other thing I'm going to do before I get to the pre-sort is, and again, I'm just showing you what AccuZIP can do, the power of what we can do to your list that takes literally seconds, that would take you a lot more time in other software or doing it by hand. For instance, say for instance, you are doing a lot of mailings in your area, and you're doing it for different customers. Okay, so you've got a lot of different customers, maybe mailing to the same people in the same area. So you've got a guy, Joe Smith, over there at 100 Main Street, that keeps getting different pieces of mail from different clients that you keep mailing for, and they're getting mad, and they keep getting back to the customer saying, take me off your list, stop mailing to me, why are you doing this, or whatever. You can actually generate, you can actually do in an Excel or whatever you want, you can actually get a list, and I have one here, like a do not mail list together. And all you need in there is the address and zip, okay? And if you maintain that list, keep it in the same location, then every list that you run through this software, you can actually run also through a do not mail suppression. So this is another command that we can just give you. And basically what this is going to do, see, I have 1,175 records right now. If I run this command, now I have 1,138 records. It removed everyone that matched that do not mail list. And then you're going, Dave, I don't know which ones I removed. Well, we actually generate a file. it says the name of the file that I ran it against, underscore removed. And if I open that, and a CSV is going to automatically open in Excel. I can also write it out to an Excel. This tells me which records were removed. You give that back to your customer and say, hey, you know, these people don't want any more mail from us. I removed these people out of your list, okay? And I did that with one click or two clicks, one to open the command window, the second one to remove them. So now it's gone. So now, finally, I'm ready to pre-sort. Okay, normally when you walk through this, it actually goes very quickly, but just to show you everything that we can do. Now here's what the magic happens. So just doing everything I did, adding a barcode, CAS certifying it, gives you no discount, absolutely no discount. Even if you put a barcode on it at this point, it's not going to give you a discount. What you have to do, like Eric said, is you have to pre-sort the list. This is where you get the discount, okay? So in this screen, there's a lot of options. You just start at the top left and go through, and most of the time you're only going to change a few things in here. You're going to leave all of this here. So what I do from the start is I say, how do I want to mail this letter or flat or whatever I'm doing? Do I want to mail it as a first-class postcard? You know, I can select first-class postcard, okay? Do I want to mail it as a standard mail letter? Well, all of this information is just easily selectable in here. If you don't know what size the piece qualifies for, there's a little calculator here. You just click on it, okay? This piece right here is a 3.5 by 5, but say maybe I'm doing a 4 by 9 envelope or whatever. It tells me it's a letter, okay? If I change that, you remember Eric was saying there's a piece height restriction. I believe it's 6.124. If it goes to 125, oh, actually over 125, it goes to a flat. So by entering the actual information in here, it actually generates, it looks at the DMM, which is the Domestic Mail Manual. It's the Bible that the postal carrier or the postal people look at or refer back to tell you what you can and cannot do at the post office. You're in luck when you buy AccuZIP. All of our technicians, our mail professionals, they know what DMM reference to, or if they don't, they can look it up very quickly and tell you what your piece and why it's not qualifying. Some people come to us and they have a first-class postcard. They're trying to mail it out, and it keeps coming up as a letter, and they don't know why. They give us a call, and we say, it's your thickness. It's too thick. It has to go as a letter. It's too thick for a postcard. All of that information is available to you on the post office website, and also in here. You just type in the thickness of the actual piece, and it'll tell you. And I'll show you another thing here real quick, is if it's a 4 by 9, and I hit OK, we actually tell you what size trays are preferred for this type of mailing. So an MM tray are the shorter trays, okay? They're the long trays, but they're short. They're not very tall. If your mail piece reaches a certain height, say for instance, it's a little over 5 inches, and I squeeze that out, it's still a letter, but watch the trays. The trays are automatically going to select EMM trays. So these are taller trays because when you stack these trays on top of each other and the mail is in them and the piece is 5 inches or higher, or a little higher, it's going to smash the mail. So the post office doesn't want you to do that, so they require you to put them in taller trays. And that's why we have that, switch that. Now you can override that if you want. I don't recommend it, but you can override that. So right now I'm going to do standard profit letter. It's a little bit tall, it's a tall letter, and I'm going to put it in an EMM tray. Okay, and based on the thickness of your mail piece that you typed in here, we're going to tell you how many of those pieces will fit in a tray. You can override that as well. Okay, say for instance, now we can fit more than that. We can fit 800 to 1,000 in a tray. So I could put that information in here. Okay, and then that will actually use your settings as you overrode it. Okay, so here is where you would put in your zip code of where your permit is held, okay? So ours, Atascadero, if our permit is held here locally in Atascadero, like Eric said, our SCF, our sectional facility, is in Santa Barbara, which is about 2 hours away. 2.5 really, if you're not speeding. So it takes a while to get there. If I wanted to drop this off at the SCF, well, I'm gonna have to have a lot of pieces going, because if I had 2,000 pieces, or say for instance I had 200 pieces, I've set a threshold in here, which I will remove the threshold right now. In this window, you have the option to set a threshold for your mail going to all your SCFs. I can say across the board, I need at least 200 pieces going to any SCF. So it sets it there. Maybe this one, a little further away, I need at least 500 pieces. Whoops, 500 pieces going there, okay? And I would put that information in here, okay? So basically what this does, it allows you to set a threshold. Now, I'm not gonna drive 2.5 hours for 200 pieces going to an SCF. It's gonna save me possibly close to 3 cents a piece for 200. That's $6. If I have 2,000, $60. I'm gonna need like 20,000 to drive to that location to save me any money. So I might wanna bump that up. So you can do what you wanna do, but what you do in here is you can actually calculate the counts from your list. Right here, as you see, one piece of mail is going to that SCF. Of course, I'm not gonna select that. I've set a threshold for 200. If I wanna see down in this list, which ones meet my threshold, like these, I'll just click right here to mark all the ones that made it, and then right here to view them, okay? So right now, all of these meet my threshold. Here are the actual counts in the list. Maybe I don't wanna go here or here, and I'll just go here for this time. I'll hit save, and now it brings that information here, and it creates all of the proper paperwork. I can also save the setting. I've already got one saved under standard letter. I'll just go ahead and override it. Now it's saved, okay? And then I'll just go ahead and hit pre-sort. Once you hit pre-sort, it's gonna calculate the postage savings. It's gonna put this list in pre-sorted order and mail it out for you. It tells you how many containers you need. Remember, you're gonna use EMM trays. I'm gonna use 7 of them. There's my postage, that's actual postage. That's how many pieces were sent, and that's an average price per piece. Now, some probably went at 27, 28, some probably went at 25, 24, or whatever. That is the average. What we were talking about before, and let me show you something really cool here, is if your piece qualifies for what's called saturation, or if it qualifies for any sort of discount in your mailing. So basically what would happen is if you've got a mailing that is pretty close knit. So say for instance, your customer gives you a list of 10,000 records and it's all in the same zip code. Well, that's pretty obvious that that list is going to qualify for additional discounts if you run it through what's called DSF2. DSF2 which will add a walk sequence number to your mailing list based on the route that the carrier walks. So for instance, you would think the carrier would walk all the way down Main Street, north to south, then come back south to north on Main Street all the way back up. Well, that in some cases is not the case. He might walk halfway down Main Street, take a right and go east or whatever on Elm Street, come back Elm Street, go the rest of the way down Main Street and then back all the way up. So the post office knows the route because they made the route. So from the post office, we get what's called a walk sequence number that's assigned to every record. This list right here is 14,521 pieces, okay? If I pre-sorted this, and let me back up a second, I'm going a little fast. Right here is where I can actually add that walk sequence number. We have what's called our data enhancement services. Now this could save you quite a bit of money, okay? So let me close that, what happened here? Special data enhancement service process list. There you go. Okay. This window right here is two things. You can either do a pay-as-you-go, okay? You can buy the list. You can pay as you go. These 4 services, DSF2, which adds the walk sequence number, apartment append, which will add apartment numbers for known apartments, for known people in apartments. It'll add that apartment number. ACOA is like NCOA, which is NCOA is National Change of Address. This is just an alternative way of change of address, like through magazine subscriptions, through utility bills, things like that. That other sources know that this person has moved, other than the post office. You can also run that. We also have a deceased suppression. So if anybody in here, based upon the Social Security Administration, has died or passed away or whatever, and their name and address is in your list, it'll mark it as that person is deceased, okay? So all 4 of these services are the same price as if you just chose one. So you could choose one, you could choose 2, 3, or 4, and it will still be that dollar per thousand up to a certain amount. You can get that down to as low as 65 cents per thousand. If you want to always run 65 cents per thousand, no matter what the amount is, what you'll want to do is purchase credits, and you can purchase enough credits to get that price down, which I believe is 2,000,001 credits, and you'll get every list you run at 65 cents per thousand. But no worries on this. If I just wanted to run this one list, it's going to cost me $14. Not a big deal. 14,000 records. It's going to cost me $14.52 to run it through DSF2. Okay, so if I wanted to run this through a walk sequence list, and I'll show you where that $14 is going to be well worth it, because if I'm running a list through DSF2, say for instance I wanted to pre-sort this list without getting any sort of carrier route level discounts on my mail, I'm just going to run it. I'm going to hit pre-sort. This would be a normal pre-sort just like I did the previous one, but this is going to give me a regular 5-digit rate, which is a great rate, or a 3-digit or AADC rate of $25.7. My total postage on this mailing was $3,728, okay? If I ran it through DSF2 and I included my carrier route level sort, I can't even remember what that was. I think it said 3,500. We are going to now mail this same list by just checking one box at $2,900. So it's a savings of almost $600 on one mailing just by checking that box, just running it through a $14 service in which you can definitely charge your customer or take a percentage of that. I think Eric mentioned last time some mail houses are just taking a percentage. They'll take a third of the whatever they save. If they save 600, you know, whatever, they may take $200 to save your customer an extra 400 on their postage, whatever you want to do. But that is available to you, and it's just as easy as clicking a couple buttons and you're in. So after we've done the pre-sort, we only have printing left to do, and this is where you guys are specializing, and we're printing, we're doing everything else. This is all we got left. We just have to print our tags, and I will create a preview of this so you can see what that list or the tags look like. They're just, our default tag stock is on 8.5 by 11. We also sell perforated stock here. It's $10 per thousand, so you can get a lot of tags in there for $10. It allows you to print all these on and just tear them off on perforated stock like that. Well, we also sell what's called our AccuTag machine that will print one up on a thermal printer. So if you want to just use that, we also sell an AccuTag printer. It's $9.95 one-time fee, and you can print thousands of tags. They'll just come up like a one-up, so you don't waste any paper. There's that. Our reports. These reports right here are required, all three of these, the qualification report, the mailing statement, the cash certificate. We also, during this process, make an electronic form of this paperwork, which I'll show you in a second, where you can upload to Postal One. Then you're not required to actually bring any paperwork to the post office or even print it. You could just print it to a PDF, which then generates the correct information in the mail.dat files. So the qualification report, the mailing statement, cash certificate are required. Here are where you're going to enter all of your customers' permit information, their MIDs, their CRIDs, their permit number, their location, their address. All of that information will be entered in here. Or if you just want to enter it all in yourself, you can do that here. If you don't have a permit set up already, there wouldn't be anything to select here. You would want to leave this box unchecked. Then when you hit print, it brings up this window. This is where you start typing in your information. As you see, it fills in all three. Then you can save it down here, you know. So once you save it, it brings up all of the information here, and I can go through and show you different ones. All of the customers' informations are there. I will just use the full service one of ours, and this is just fake information here, but I have all my information already slotted in here. I've got my permit number, I've got my MIDs, my CRIDs, everything filled out and saved. So if I did that in the previous screen, I could have just checked that box, selected my customer, and hit print. You wouldn't even have seen the screen. So I'm just going to hit print. It's going to create a PDF. It's going to create one PDF document with bookmarks named the name of the file or the report that you're going to see. So in just a moment here, I'm going to show you all that. And just a moment, it's going to print that, and I'll show you where you can easily find that. So when you pre-sort, when you do a pre-sort, we actually generate a link back to the pre-sort folder. You don't have to go searching for it. It's right here. You just click there, and it brings up the window. Here is my pre-sort folder. This has everything in it. It has my documentation. If I would have printed my tags to a PDF, it would have showed there. But here's my documentation. Here's my, excuse me, my mailing statement. That might be a little small to see. Here's my mailing statement, completely filled out with all my information. If I go to the next one, it shows my breakdown. How many pieces qualified for 5-digit? How many pieces qualified for mixed? Here's my full service discount. So for instance, if you're doing full service, meaning you're uploading your mail to Postal One rather than bringing all this paperwork to the post office, and we'll show you how to do that. We'll train you how to become full service, and you'll want to do that for 2 reasons. First of all, as you see, you're getting a 0.003 cents per piece on every single mailing you upload, okay? You're also eliminating your permit charge. So if you're paying $200 for a standard class permit to your post office, that permit charge is waived every renewal. You have to buy it originally, but every renewal, you won't have to pay that as long as you're doing 90% of your mail uploading it to post office for full service, okay? There's the breakdown. Here's the qualification report. It tells you how everything qualifies. It tells you how many pieces are going into each bin. And then when you print, you can actually put those mail pieces in those trays. And again, we'll show you how to do all that. Finally, here is where you're going to print the mail pieces. Okay, so here is the list in pre-sorted order. It has everything in there. It has your endorse line. It has your record number, all of that in pre-sorted order. If I wanted to output this, well, one of 2 things. Here, let me show you real quickly our label template. You can print directly from AccuZIP. We have hundreds of templates already created that you could just modify. If I wanted to just print it to an envelope or a card, you know, directly from the software, I can actually use our label designer to design a label, you know, and print directly to that. If I wanted to use InDesign or Fusion Pro or whatever else, what other variable data software that you're using to maybe print the mail piece, I will export this thing out rather than print it directly from AccuZIP. We add the intelligent mail barcode. Now we're in our export screen, and I would just select the fields I want to print. Now I can give my print guy every field, but he may not want that. He may just say, hey, give me the fields you want to print. So I'm going to go ahead and export just the name and address, okay, and maybe the intelligent mail barcode, maybe a sequence number or whatever. I can actually save it as an export map. So when I come to this window, I select the export map I want, and I'm going to do it as a CSV, and I'm just going to put it on my desktop for easy access. And there you go. So now I can email those PDFs to whoever's taking the mail down to the post office, and I can give them this to print from, okay? So here is my print file. I just generated very quickly. I said I want my intelligent mail barcode. Of course, we're not going to print that in Calibre. We're going to print it with the barcode font that we provide. And we're going to do it at, 16 point. So here's my intelligent mail barcode. Okay, so it generated that. You'll do that on your print side. You'll just tell it to print in this barcode font, so you'll see a barcode rather than letters. We can also do the numeric version if that's what you guys need. We can export that 31-character numeric version. Here's my endorse line. There's my name. There's my address. I put my city, state, and zip in one field, but we could separate it. We could also put a tray number. We could do a package number. We could put a pallet number if you guys are doing pallets. We could put all that information in the file. I did put a sequence number in there. A lot of times we want to print that on the mail piece in case somebody's clumsy and drops the stack. Now they can put it back in order to give it back to the post office. So I've put all this information in a file ready to go. And that's it. You would print that from your printer station or whoever's printing it. You just send that over and they can print from there. There's a couple things I did want to kind of show you. We do have about 15 minutes. Really quickly, I'll show you how to automate this whole function. So say, for instance, you have a mail person and they do the same mailing. You've got a few customers, they do postcard mailing every single time. It goes to the same post office, they use the same permit, they use the same everything, or maybe they use it a little bit different. We can modify the script to do that. I'm going to show you how you can automate your functionality. So say this guy wants to take a day off, or he wants to do something else. He's not going to be at work today. Hey, can someone else run the mailing? Well, to a lot of people, they don't have any training. They can always call us and we can walk them through the mailing. That's not a problem. But what you could do is have your mail guy could actually set up what's called a script. Okay, and the script are very easy to set up. They're just point and click. So in the program, when I open the file, I said open list. When I validated it, I pulled down special to validate records, or I checked that box. You basically do the same thing in here. So I have my script created. I'll show you how that script was so easily created. Is I said, okay, I'm going to open the list. So instead of using file, open list, I use file, open list. I bring the event down, I double click on it, and then I tell AccuZIP where that list is going to be. I select it, I'm going to use the header to import it automatically and hit save. Okay, so you just go through the process. I'm going to import it, I'm going to cast certify it, you bring down an event, you tell it everything you want to do, you use a save setting, maybe I'm going to run it through NCOA, maybe I'm not going to run it through NCOA, whatever. You select the setting. That's why it's important to go through, as you go through it manually, is to maybe create settings. I'm going to go to pre-sort mail. Okay, so when I pre-sort it, I'm going to use my standard letter setting or standard flat or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to use whatever setting that I want. Okay, so I'm going to use this right here. Save. So you just go through the setup, everything you want to do. When you're all done, it's going to print the reports, it's going to move the file, everything. Okay, you can even have it email you when that file has been, open that back up again. You can have it text message you, say, hey, this mailing's done, or email you when it's done, or whatever, email you a report, whatever you want to do. So everything's done in here. I'm going to also tell this script to monitor this working in folder. Okay, so after this, I'm just going to start the monitor. Once AccuZIP sees that there's a file in this folder ready to go, and it's not still being written to the folder, it's going to automatically start processing it exactly the way you wanted it to do, exactly what we did manually. It's going to do it automated. I'm going to get up, go get a cup of coffee. I'm going to come back, and it's going to be done. I can start printing. I have all my pre-sort paperwork. I've got my pre-sorted file. I've got everything done exactly the way, no mistakes, because it's a script doing it. It's doing exactly what you told it to do. So right now, once people see the power of the script, once they unleash that on their own, and they just want to keep adding to it. They just want to keep adding to the script. Can I have the script do this? Can I have the script tell me, how many pieces were undeliverable so I can send it to my customer? Yes, we can send you a report every time. You can have it preliminary, just go through and do a fake pre-sort and issue a mailing statement that tells what the postage was, and you can give that back to your customer. You can have all of this set up as a script. So right now it's running all my reports. It's running it into this folder called pre-sort folder. If I open that up, see how it's creating all that information? So once it's done, the name of this file was sample file, okay? So it's gonna take all of this, move it out of the in folder and drop it in here into a folder called the name of the file with today's date and time, as it just did. Then I can say, okay, here's my sample file I just did for my customer. It put a date and time stamp on it, so it won't get overwritten. If I open that, all of my mail.dat that needs to be uploaded to Postal One is right there. Here's my documentation, all filled out. Let me go ahead and open that real quick. It always opens up on my other screen, but there it is, okay? All my documentation filled out, all my tags filled out. Done. And my pre-sorted data file. I'm going to just open this up in Notepad, and as you see, my intelligent mail barcode, my name, address, city, state, zip. I even put a tray and a pack number and a sequence number in this file. That's done. That's my print file that I send to my printer. Done. How easy was that? And it's all done every time perfectly. So that's the scripting. That's the power of scripting, and that's just one little thing that we can do. So all of this can happen even on week 1. We can help you set up a script. If you have a job that you know has to be done exactly the same way, don't do it manually. We'll create a script, and you just run it through script whenever you're ready. One thing I didn't show you, and we have 10 more minutes, so I'll do it. It'll take less than 5 minutes to show you real quick, is if you wanted to track the mail. I'm going to show you AccuTrace really quickly, and then we'll have a few minutes here for discussion. But if you wanted to track this mail, say for instance, your customer is sending it out, they're not sending out pizza coupons, they're sending out something they don't want to make sure it gets delivered. They can track it, okay? This is an advanced package from what we were showing you with our business edition, our Minimat Press business edition. You can add tracking on its own, or you can just upgrade to the next package. But if you add tracking and you select that you want to track this mail, all you do is check that box and hit continue. And what that'll do is, I'm going to go to if I still have this, that will upload it to AccuTrace, which is our tracking service. Your customer will never see our AccuTrace logo. They're going to see your logo, your Minuteman Press logo, or whatever logo you want. They won't see Kristen as the URL or demo or anything else, or Eric or Dave. They're going to see whatever you suggest, Minuteman Press tracking or whatever you want, if it's available. What they're going to see is they're going to get a link that's going to get emailed to them. It's going to get emailed to you and you'll forward it to them, and they can click on the link and they can track their own mail. They can see what states the mail has hit already. They can see how much mail was delivered on time, how much is still en route, how much is early. And this is based on a 3 to 7 day window that's automatically populated. You can adjust that. If you have a mailing that goes out Wednesday and it needs to hit by Monday, and if it gets delivered on Tuesday, you know it's late and it's no good. Okay, so we also show you the first scan. When the post office first started scanning your mail, you do nothing different with your intelligent mail barcode. You do the same printing, you do everything the same, but we're now tracking it. And it gets everything, we get scan data from the post office every 1 minute. Okay, and it gets refreshed every 1 minute in your job. If I go to detail, all right, this is where you can even search deeper. You can search any one of these reports. Which one is a cool one is our single piece report. This is kind of nice because you can actually search for your customer's mail. In this user ID field, we can actually have the name and address or name and phone number, whatever you have in your list, upload here, and then you can search for that customer using the search, okay? If you don't have that, you can just search for that individual mail piece. This shows you that this mail piece, that single piece of mail, was mailed from our post office, first scanned at the Santa Barbara SCF, or wherever that is. Whoops, all right. Slide over here. And then delivered to that business right there. Boom, okay? So you don't get this level of tracking with just any tracking service. That's Eric's truck. Is that Eric? I don't know if that's your truck. Anyway, but this piece of mail was delivered exactly to that address, right there. If I back out a little bit, and I go to the reporting, I can see that that mail piece was scanned at whatever post office, whatever piece of machinery it was scanned on. All that information is in AccuTrace, okay? So if you deliver a promotional mailing for a customer and they come back to you and say, hey, you know, John, we're getting no response. Did you even drop it off? Well, you got a backup right here with AccuTrace, okay? You can show them exactly that it was dropped off. It was scanned, it was delivered.